Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today as soon as I get all our channels great and connected. And I think, by gosh, I got them connected. How is everybody doing? We are 1 day away from what again? New Year's Eve. And then we're going to start a new year. And folks, on that new year, we are going to prepare ourselves for doing what is necessary to win. Not asking questions about winning, but winning. The issues are in our favor, but issues are not enough. The facts are in our favor, but facts are not enough. We are going to have to do the necessary work, the heavy lift, to bring all those who have been apathetic for all these years and some decades, to let them realize that, guess what? I got a little thing here on my shirt, that they make the difference and they are the ones that we're waiting for. Welcome aboard, La Señora Yvette Avery Herald de Atlanta. Welcome aboard, my beautiful lady. How are you doing? We also have Paul Fleminger. How you doing, Paul? Great to have you here. Lee Grant from Montgomery County. Of course, Yvette is from Atlanta, Georgia. Paul Fleminger says manufacturing jobs in November, that's 7 straight monthly declines. The sector Trump promised would benefit immediately from tariffs, hemorrhage jobs this year. But you know what? It's great. We are talking about it. You mentioned it. But it's not the major story when they're talking about tariffs on the news. That should be major. He increased tariffs. He said tariffs would have done better. We all knew what was going to happen. Let's be clear here. We all knew what was going to happen. But people need to be told what is actually happening. Same thing from Paul Fleming. Oh, Fleming, that's 2 of you on there. Okay, how you doing, Paul? Great. Anyhow, welcome aboard. G. Notter, Yvonne Armstrong, Roy Smith, M. Hope, the Mount Rushmore Chronicles, Susan, Joanne. I think this is Joanne from Los Angeles, I imagine. La señorita de Los Angeles que vive ahí en Rodeo. I don't know if it's a Rodeo Drive that you live, right? But anyhow, we have quite a few things to talk about. Anyway, let's see. I want to get started. Harry Denson is in the house from Missouri City, Texas. He says, good afternoon, all Politics Done Right listeners in the state of Texas and around the world. Let us all engage with each other and continue to learn from each other and continue to learn from more. Oh, you touch my heart, Harry. You touch my heart. Anyway, Todd Richardson, welcome aboard as well. Anyway, where are we going to start? I want to just say that there was a piece that I didn't get to play yesterday because we ran out of time. It was one that I did with WBAI in New York. I always, on Mondays, I am on a panel at WBAI. So what I normally do is I play, the excerpts from what I have done or what I did there. So what I'm going to do right now is see if I can find it and bring you what we spoke about, 3 important issues. So let me go ahead and cue that up as we speak, and then we'll get in further with the program as we go about doing lo que tenemos que hacer. ¿Está bien? Vamos a ver qué vamos a hacer ahorita mismo. Tengo que hacer la mapa. I've got to do the map of all the different videos that I have, which I have 5 videos for today. Let me get that all nice and started rolling, 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 rolling. The dam is breaking is one of them as well. And I'm getting all of that set up. That speech, I'm not going to do that one. Jenna Flanagan, yes, I'm going to do Jenna. Ok, para ver, creo que tengo todo listo y perfecto para comenzar. All right, let's start with the one with Flanagan, which is the piece that I did with her on Monday. Here we go, and then we'll come back on the other side.
Well, Alberto, what do you see about the potential cost for this type of approach to the war on terror? Of course, the traditional mantra has been we're fighting them over there, so we don't have to fight them here. But what what is, I guess, the danger ratio that's really being considered, as far
Yeah,
as you know?
the statement that we are fighting them over there, not to fight them over here, is the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard, but they use it all of the times because it makes no sense that people in the Middle East are going to somehow try to come over here to stop. It makes no sense. But that said, when it comes to our answer to everything, it seems like dropping a bomb. Dropping a bomb serves no purposes. In fact, Nigeria pushed back. They Nigeria tried to save face by saying they were working along the United States for this bombing. The United States wanted another press up, is what they're looking for. Um, in fact, the statements out of Nigeria is that the places that were actually bombed were not places where Boko Haram or all these others were concentrated in. And the fight is not just with Boko Haram and the others, but the fight involves a lot of different ethnic groups, religious groups, etc. So Nigeria has pushed back and said this isn't a Christian a war of those attacking Christians. It's just a general uh, type of not a war, but rebels doing different things. So we have no idea what we're doing in Nigeria with respect to what is the mechanics of what's going on there. It's simply we see a problem, we can get some press out of it, so we drop a bomb. We saw a problem in Venezuela with the boats, we drop a bomb. That's all we do. China goes around the rest of the world building things. We go around the rest of the world bombing things. Ask us when was the last time we built something elsewhere. USAID is
Hmm.
gone.
Egberto, considering Israel's apparent disregard of the ceasefire with uh, the Gaza media office telling Al Jazeera that the Israeli military violated the truce 875 times since it went into effect in October, how earnest do you believe that Netanyahu is in his pursuit of peace in the region? And how much of this is simply just political theater?
You nailed it. It's simply political theater. Nothing more. Netanyahu has no desire for peace. Netanyahu only has a desire to control the Middle East and use use us, the Americans, as the pawns to do it. In other words, the way things appear to have run for several decades now is Netanyahu pretty much runs the United States military. And I know a lot of people would take offense to that, but the reality is take a look at what's happening in the Middle East, and we simply follow Netanyahu's lead. Um, I want to give a corollary to the issue with Ukraine and Russia, and that is think about this. North Korea has the nuclear bombs. We don't try to invade them. Ukraine gave up over 1,000 nuclear weapons under the promise from the West that they would guarantee their territorial existence, that they would guarantee their security. The United States violated that, the Western countries violated that. Ask the question, why would Ukraine think that they should follow anything within? I think they should leave the Non-Proliferation Treaty and start doing what they need to do to protect themselves.
All right. Well, speaking of that huge story, I do want to pivot to because this is our final show of 2025, which I think we can all agree has been a year. So, to each of my guests, I would love to ask what was the biggest story of the year to you? And what is it you're going to be looking to on the horizon? And we only have a few minutes left. Egberto, few minutes left.
Okay, I love what Laura said with respect to what the fracturing of the Republican Party, but what Dave spoke about human suffering, the way he actually globalize it. I want to nationalize it instead. My
Mm.
biggest story is what is going to happen to people with healthcare in America. I don't think how bad it's going to be come January, come a couple of days, people are going to realize how bad that affects people. It's going to be bad. People are going to be unhealthy. People are going to die. And this is going to be a direct result of policy, not bombings or something else. It's going to be the result of policies that we're going to have it. And I hope that what we do is not continue what we do here in America, and that is suffer in silence. We have to, with programs like yours, Jenna, we have to make it viewed, the suffering that's out there, and not make it be some sort of a silence as people die.
All right. All huge stories and huge themes that we have followed, but more importantly, are going to be watching, and we'll definitely be following all of those threads going into 2026. But we are unfortunately going to have to leave it there. Many thanks to my panel, Washington, D.C. correspondent and senior editor at Notice, Dave Leventhal, writer at firewalledmedia.com, and an Army veteran of 2 tours in the war in Afghanistan, Laura Jadid, and Egberto Willies, host of KPFT's Politics Done Right.
Okay, I want to say something because inside of our chat, our our good MAGA brother, and I call Lee Grant our good one because Lee Grant is actually a supporter of Politics Done Right. Right? He's actually a paid supporter of Politics Done Right, which means he really supports what he's going to say here. So I want to read what he has to say. He says the following. Lee says, independent journalism is, and he capitalizes is important. Shout out to Nick Shirley. CNN notes. 1 week ago, 23-year-old, it's Nick Shirley, a right wing hack, is what he really is, uh, was relatively unknown in the public sphere. But in recent days, he has gained hundreds of thousands of followers and millions of views, amplified by Elon Musk, Vice President JD Vance, and FBI Director Kash Patel. Okay? Why does that matter? Let me just go ahead and before I get too busy here, I just want to tell you guys who is this guy here before, just so that you have an idea of what we're looking at here. Because I get what Lee Grant is saying. Wow, Egberto, you are here to support you're here to support independent media. I am. Nick Shirley operates within a growing ecosystem. Listen to this of right-leaning digital media figures who frame political discourse through provocation, selective editing, viral confrontation. He built his following primarily on YouTube and TikTok by conducting street and campus interviews designed to generate gotcha moments, short clips that portray young people, progressives, or marginalized voices as uninformed or irrational. This format thrives in an algorithmic environment that rewards outrage, simplification, and confirmation bias. Why did I want to tell you that? Because what the president, vice president, Elon Musk, the director Patel are doing here is they needed plausible deniability from a fraudulent report, Mr. Lee Grant. There is nothing in the fraud stuff that they're doing right now in Minnesota that has any bearing on Donald Trump coming in to clean house. In fact, it has been taken care of from the Biden administration. These things have been investigated. Okay. So let's go ahead and let me see if this is the piece that I want to show you so that I can preload what I'm trying to tell you here. All right, look, the Minnesota fraud is really fraud to be investigated. The Minnesota fraud is a story the right wing is picking up to give you the impression, and it's actually two impressions that they want to give you. One, that Democrats somehow are corrupt, and two, that all these social services can be cut because there is so much fraud. Both of those are false. We find the most fraud, again, in red states. We find the most fraud from business people of the Republican persuasion. So what they're trying to do is they're using this young man as a pawn and elevating him. When a couple of years down the road, it comes out that this little kid is a fraud that manipulated what he had to say, they don't have to take the fall. The kid does. But he's not going to take a fall because they'll be there to help him up. They just are able to say now that, you know, that guy that reported on the Minnesota stuff, we were just listening to the investigation that he did. Democrats have got to keep their eye on the ball. Don't fall for this crap. Let this young kid do his thing. Let them hyperventilate about fraud in Minnesota. But I want you to listen to this piece that just came on MS Now. And I want you to check it out. We'll then take it on the other side.
This investigation isn't new, newly drawn up by the Trump administration, that the Biden administration was a part of this investigation. Can you tell us how exactly the Biden administration handled these allegations?
That's absolutely right, Laura. The DOJ, DHS, FBI, right now they're saying they're investigating this fraud, but we have to remember that these investigations have been a long time in the making. I mean, back in 2022, as you noted earlier, the Biden admin, Merrick Garland's Department of Justice, in fact, charged 47 defendants in a $250 million scheme that exploited a federally funded child nutrition program. And when we reach out to Governor Tim Walz's office for a statement today on these fraud allegations, I want to read you part of what his office said. Quote, the governor has been combating this for years, and before the viral video had already referred these cases to law enforcement. So yes, Laura, there's a new interest in fraud in Minnesota, in part due to this dubious viral video, but the effort to investigate the fraud in the state, it's been going on for years now. Laura.
Michael, well, zeroing in on the fraud allegations, President Trump, as Alex is noting, took aim at Democrats, including the Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who is responding in statements and saying that this isn't necessarily new. But do you think that Democrats are doing enough to confront this, to confront the Trump administration and all of the accusations that they're leveling and the false claims that they're throwing out there and they're spreading?
No, Democrats have to be stronger in terms of responding to this nonsense, because that's what this is. Donald Trump has done more harm than any previous president in terms of preventing the government from investigating fraud. He's dismantled multiple federal agencies that investigate fraud on everything from cryptocurrency and beyond. And so, by the way, Donald Trump, who owns a cryptocurrency company, benefits directly from the dismantling of that government. And so Democrats have to be stronger and call this out for what it is. They cannot allow Donald Trump to change the conversation and get away with this litany of sort of offensive, racist, very inappropriate things this administration is doing.
Speaking of the contradictions and the cognitive dissonance, David, as they're sounding alarm over the alleged fraud in Minnesota, President Trump is also pardoning people who have committed fraud against Americans. Just to name a few examples, former Nikola CEO Trevor Milton, who prosecutors say defrauded investors out of $660 million. Philip Esformes, a former nursing home executive convicted for a $1.3 billion Medicare fraud, and a former CEO of Comprehensive Pain Specialist John Eston Davis, who was convicted in a $4 million illegal kickback scheme. Is there a double standard here? What pattern are you seeing?
Well, I mean, of course, the administration has a double standard, right? I mean, they want to focus on fraud committed by Democrats or that happened on the watch of a Democratic elected official, and they don't want to talk about anything that has to do with them. I think that's why politically Democrats will benefit enormously from holding their own side to a very high standard so that they can say that, listen, this isn't just about Trump. This is about corruption writ large. We're going to do things differently. That's how you win swing districts in a midterm election. That's how you steal a Senate seat in a red state in a midterm election, right? Instead of just, complaining about the other side and going to your side and trying to explain away what happens on your side, you do this equally. In a sense, the way Democrats have been handling the Epstein files, not shying away from any of the Democrats revealed to have been associated with Jeffrey Epstein. That's how your independent voter, your soft partisan is going to look at this and think that you're more above board than the other side.
And he nails it. Look, there's corruptions on all sides, okay? But the thing about it is, the side that is most corrupt is the MAGA side, the Republican side, because they're in your face. Not only are they in your face, but they do it with impunity. Let's remember this. Remember all those PPP loans that came out to really keep the economy afloat under Biden? And let's be clear here. The Biden administration let money flow like there was no tomorrow. And that is what kept not just America's economy, but the world economy from crashing. We are built on a capitalist system that depends on the circulation of money. And given that that the engine of money circulation was severely diminished, falsely pumping up the economy is what kept the collapse from occurring. All these businesses that would have folded, a business is very easy to fold. It's hard to bring back up. So Biden and all the economists knew that throwing just money to as fast as they could out the door would generate a lot of fraud. No time to investigate. And when you have a lot of fraudsters out there, that is what you're going to get. You know what? Marjorie Taylor Greene and all these folks took out these PPP loans with no intention of paying it back, with no intentions of giving it to employees because they could. They followed the law sometimes, they bent the laws other times. But I tell you what, all that, the good use of that PPP money and the bad use of that PPP money is what kept this economy from cratering during Trump's depression caused by his mishandling of the COVID-19 epidemic. Not epidemic, but pandemic. So what we are unwinding from is a lot of that fraud. You're hearing people being convicted for bad PPP loans and all these other things. Some of them are PPP grants. People being convicted of all these things over and over again. Why? Because again, there was no time to really say, let's make sure all of this is done the right way. So Democrats, I am not going to speak about, or Democrats, progressive and smart Republicans, I am not going to speak about the Somalia, what they're trying to make into somehow the Somalians are the ones that are doing the biggest ripoffs. You heard her mention all the billionaires that Donald Trump has pardoned for their ripoffs, including Rick Scott didn't need a pardon, but Rick Scott, while he was running a healthcare company or insurance company, ripped off $2 billion from the government. Hey, nothing happened to him. Rich people get off scot-free. Donald Trump has 47 indictments or so, or convictions, get off for free. Let's be clear here, people. We are not going to concentrate on the distractions. This is a distraction. Democrats, progressives, smart Republicans, independents, and whoever you are, I won't be speaking about the involvement of Somalians, the Minnesota fraud, And by the way, I can guarantee if you had the aggregate amount, it won't be aggregated towards Somalians. But I will not be making this a subject of discussion. So my MAGA folks in the chat right now, you can put those links ad nauseum. They will be ignored. We won't speak about this again. I just want my Democratic, my independent, my smart Republicans, my amenable MAGA folks that listen to me every day to understand this. Do not be distracted. We have a lot of work to do. These people have collapsed the economy. These people are killing people with their healthcare policies. And these are the things going forward in 2026 that we will be talking about ad nauseum. I will be bringing politicians, Democratic politicians, or any politician who are promising progressive values, who are promising Medicare for all. All of these people, these guys that will be doing the humane thing for all of us, will have free reign on Politics Done Right on every platform, whether it be on the radio, whether here locally at KPFT or in WBAI in New York or in they will have free reign with Politics Done Right and wherever our program is played. But you know what will not be covered? All of the distractions. And I'm urging all of you to disregard the distractions because that is what they need to happen because they do not know how. Well, it's not that they don't know how to govern, but because they are lousy at governing and they simply use governing to rip us all off. And you know who also known that the Democratic Party, or rather that the Republican Party is falling apart? One of their great people. They know the Republican Party is falling apart. The great person that we really enjoyed slamming is now a part of the posse that is pointing out who the Republican Party really is. I would like to say has always been, though with a different kind of facade. Check this out.
We have seen some fractures erupting within MAGA world recently, but mostly, to your point, from people who aren't going to run again. That includes Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who talked earlier this week about the breaks from Trump.
And I think the dam is breaking. Many Republicans may not have called him out, but last week, 13 Republicans voted with Democrats to overturn one of President Trump's executive orders, which enabled him to fire federal workers. We also saw Indiana Republicans vote against redistricting. You're seeing Republicans, they're entering the campaign phase for 2026, which is a large signal that lame duck season has begun.
So there's the Congress and what they're going to say and do, but then there's also the American public, right? And people who have voted for Trump. If there is a possibility that he even entertains running for a third term or floats that out in a way that he didn't just a few weeks ago, I mean, are we even sure his base would be on board?
I think a lot of people would be on board, and I think that's the thing to be sort of worried about. Not the fact that he actually could do this, but if we're starting 3 years out, normalizing this idea and just talking about it all the time, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he latches onto some harebrained scheme. I think after January 6th, we shouldn't suffer from a lack of imagination of what could be done. I mean, Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, I guess, was quoted this week saying that he knows that he can't run again. Well, he may know that, but if this is floated in front of him enough, it wouldn't surprise me if he latches onto it and starts talking about it. I've actually been surprised he hasn't talked about it more. It seems like the kind of thing that Donald Trump would love to at least troll people with. Again, I don't think he can do it, but it would not surprise me if we're in 2 years from now still having a conversation about this where he won't quite rule it out.
Well, we know the narcissist will never rule that out if he ever thinks that somehow we can do it. Now he cannot do it, of course, and you know so many people have been so scared. Suppose he doesn't leave office, then we'll drag him out of there. If he doesn't leave office, we'll get a posse to drag him out of there. Okay? Because on January 20th, a new president gets installed, and it won't be him. And if he tries to lock himself in there, the posse will be coming to get him out of there. I mean, I find too often that here in America, by the media, by having a lousy mainstream media, we give plausibility to so much nonsense instead of working on things that we should be working on. The Constitution is absolute on that. Okay? It's absolute on that. What Democrats need to do right now is protect their flanks. Make sure all the voting records are maintained. Make sure all the voting records are constantly monitored. We need to make sure that all our people, good Republicans, good Democrats, good progressives, are registered. We need to tabulate all of that. We have the technology to do that. They're doing it. That's why they can micromanage their votes. Democrats must do the same. Democrats must go out there and manage all their voters and make sure that on election day, they're all there. But you know what? 30 days before the election, they need to continue monitoring all of the Secretary of State's data on who's registered to vote. Because you know what? Conditional voting doesn't really work. That's what needs to be done. We don't need to be with all these different crazy things that the Republicans are going to throw all over the place. Do the work, do the homework, and it'll be all good. It will be all good. Look, we are lining up, people. Listen to me well. We are lining up not for a huge federal win, but I'm talking about conversion of state legislatures throughout this country. Because even many of our MAGA brothers and sisters that think they're immutable, that we think are immutable, they will be saying, "Oh my God, my aunt is dying, my grandmother died, my kid cannot see a doctor because of the policies of MAGA." All what they told us was a lie. They told us was a lie. This is going to be a transformational election. And what the Republicans are doing right now is everything in their power to reduce the vote of the apathetic. I spoke to you about that mail that a good friend of mine sent me. A lot of people are out there trying to generate apathy. Oh, it's a foregone conclusion. We're losing our democracy. Hell no. Hell no. I wrote a piece today, a solicitation letter today that I think I want to read a piece of it. I pointed out, I said the following in that piece that I sent out. There are three groups of people in this country, and actually I should have said, and in fact, let me correct that now because I'm going to forget to correct it at all. You know how it is when you're doing a million things at the same time. I said there are three groups. There are really four groups. I don't know why I kept it as three groups. I want to change that right now in the article. I need to change that. I'm going to come back to what I'm trying to say right now. I'm going to come back to what I'm trying to say. Update. All right. Anybody who got that email, I've corrected it. It's four groups. Here we go. 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 Para ver, para ver, para ver. I want to read this for you. This is what I sent out today. Para ver, I want to put it on the screen. I said the following. Let's see. I had to respond. Let's start it right here. There was somebody who sent a friend of mine a letter. It was a disconcerting letter. Not a letter, I'm sorry. She read an article. And the article was what I call a negative article, an article that generates apathy. And in effect, let me just read this. It says, the article was long and depressing. The first concern I had was that the author used AI not as a tool, but as a guide. The AI model inferred exactly what his tonality and framing expected, provided answers that matched, and then he all but checked out. The article effectively expected that our loss of democracy was a foregone conclusion. Let me skip this part here. I had not yet responded to her. She sent me another email and said, I want to hear your opinion on these articles. So this is what I responded. I said, I am glad it is his final political post. That is what privilege sounds like. When change becomes too difficult or a bit risky, he has the option to check out. Now, here is the reality. The fact that he knows about the Powell memo, media infiltration, education control, and that then uses AI so profoundly to infer an outcome shows deficient critical thinking. I will not check out ever, or should real democracy loving people who have had to fight to grow their freedoms. We should never check out. By the way, no one can check out because the political and economic fraud will follow us like white on rice. So you can think you're checking out, like I'm not in this anymore. It's all a foregone conclusion. You can't check out. The system is coming for you. The only solution is respectful civil engagement ad nauseum as we work with Appalachia, the barrios, and the ghettos, and yes, even MAGA. Sorry for saying this, but the dude is but a keyboard warrior. Maybe really working in his local community will teach him something. If I did not know better, I would think he's on the billionaire bros payroll. Do not let crap like this that seem plausible make you change your good work, because this woman works hard. She's a great organizer. She got 1,000 people in Kingwood to show up for a No Kings rally. The largest amalgamation of people in this area was probably 100 at any one time. She brought 10 times at 1,000% increase. That's what I call a great organizer. And that's what she did. Sorry, guys, I am sick. As you can see from the video I did in New York, I was sick as a dog, but we got to do what we got to do. Now, I continued. I actually love the second article that she sent me because this guy pointed out the things that we are going to have to do. He didn't try to sugarcoat it. Donald Trump is going to try to become that authoritarian. There's no doubt about it. But you know what? There are more of us than there are of them. Let me see how I tell you that. I said, I actually love the second article because it detailed dangers of a lame duck Trump and also offered marching orders to arrest his authoritarian actions. There are 4 groups of people in America. The 1% elite, the comfortable status quo acceptors, the sycophants for the elite, and the rest of us. The rest of us are about 60%. I repeat, the rest of us are about 60%. But because of the undemocratic nature of the Senate, gerrymandering, the Electoral College, and apathy, meaning the apathy of many in the 60%, the 40% minority has a much louder voice. Okay? Our mainstream media, many of our think tanks, the evangelical churches, and many in the establishment of both parties are wards of the 1%. That is why many times, irrespective of who owns unified government, things don't change for the masses as they should. Articles like the first one I described come from apathy, weakness, and the inferred belief that majority is not more powerful than the minority. While it is regrettable, it is understandable, given our indoctrination as Americas from birth, that our economic system and government were democratic. We were indoctrinated to believe we were a democracy. We never were. We were never a democracy. They never were, though through activism, we have been getting closer, taking a few steps back every so often. Under Trump, we've taken quite a few steps back, but we're not going to follow those folks in the article that I mentioned before. We are moving forward. We are moving forward. This country is ours, not that of the sycophants. These are ours. I repeat, this country is ours. As this unsustainability of our systems become more apparent and the exponential wealth accumulation of the 1% on the back of the masses become more onerous and inhumane, vis-a-vis unaffordable health care, the work of activists and independent media are indispensable. The No Kings movement is thriving and growing. Americans' indoctrination in systems that progressively make them debtors and poorer, unable to accumulate assets they've worked for their entire lives, are starting to wake up. They're starting to wake up. Yes, they're becoming woke. That is what we need. More woke people. And anybody you hear from Bill Maher and all these guys that are talking about we have to get away from woke, no, they are paid off. They're the either the 1% or the or what I called in my article, what did I call them? The 1%, the sycophants of the elite. They're either the elite or the sycophants of them. So altogether, folks, we can't fall for the trap. We can't fall for the trap. Anyway, I got a couple more videos. Let me see which one I want to go with first. Let's go ahead and talk about. Oh, this one is funny. You know, Speaker Mike Johnson wrote an op-ed talking about the great accomplishments of this Congress. 1 year where they spent most of their time doing what again? Help me, guys. What did this Congress do most of the times? They were out. Most of the times they did nothing. They passed a big, beautiful bill that destroyed America, and then they did nothing. Okay? Well, you know, a former Republican decided that he would go ahead and answer what Mike Johnson claimed they did. And here's how he responded on MSN.
Without critical government subsidies, healthcare costs will skyrocket for millions of Americans in just 2 days. It all could have been prevented if not for the gridlock in Congress. Beyond the healthcare cliff, there's also a looming government shutdown coming at the end of January, making any middle ground here more and more elusive. There's a record number of retirements coming in the House. That could make an already thin GOP majority even more difficult for the Speaker to manage in a midterm year. And now joining us, we have former Democratic Senator Barbara Boxer of California, and we have former Republican Congressman from Virginia, Denver Riggleman. Good to have you both. Congressman, I want to start with you. Speaker Johnson has a new op-ed out in the Wall Street Journal saying that House Republicans had a great year. And I'm wondering, I guess, did House Republicans have a great year as we see people defecting, retiring early? We hear rumors that more may come. What do you give him? What's the report card?
Probably a D-. I mean, it's really difficult as a former Republican to look at that based on data, based on facts, based on the economy right now to say it was a banner year. I mean, There's certainly some mixed signals in the economy. There's some things you could probably point to that aren't awful. But when you look at what they did, shirking work to get around votes, especially for the Epstein files, when you look at what's going on with tariffs specifically, it's very, very difficult. I have a tech business, right? I have a pretty robust technology business, but I also own distilleries. My wife's a CEO. When you get 50% tariffs and supply chain increases off the charts, you have to halt production. And what we're looking at across the board in our industry in spirits and liquor and beer, you have these massive issues. And that issues goes to farmers when you're looking at the bailout and things of that nature. And when I read the op-ed from Mike Johnson, I was just struck that it missed, really all the bad things, but that's politics. I mean, that's what they have to do. But the fact that you would say they had a banner year when they missed so much work, the bills that they passed. Now, number of bills really doesn't matter, but the quality of bills do. And I think right now, when you're looking at the quality, it's just not there. And I also believe that the three things that are really hurting them, and then I'm going to turn it over to the senator, when you're looking at MAGA, is they've hit the three buttons that are really bad, right? The Epstein files, you go into the conspiratorial nature of MAGA. Second is healthcare. It's going to hit red districts. And the third, MAGA is inherently nationalistic, right? When you're talking about starting wars overseas, those three things are showing that maybe it isn't all that rosy in the GOP right now.
Without critical government subsidies, healthcare costs will skyrocket for millions of Americans.
And that is the case. The things are, he goes on and he says all the things that they've done. The reality is they have not done much. The reality is the economy sucks. The reality is when they talk, I love when they go ahead and they say, look, the GDP grew by 4.x%, the largest growth in 2 years. Okay. Let's assume those numbers are correct. I'll assume the numbers are correct because I don't have any other way to say they're not. But, given that one cannot trust the lies that come out of this government, I don't know that you can trust a government where they've replaced all the people that have institutional knowledge with what they got now. But here's the thing. In a K economy, and for those who don't understand a K economy, usually what you find is as an economy improves, everybody improves. When the economy starts to take off, everybody improves, right? Even the bottom fishers, they start to do better as well. The K economy, they don't even explain that the way they should on TV. They don't explain it the way they should. Why do they call it a K economy? Because a certain class continues to rise. That may be the top 20% continue to rise. But the bottom 50% or more continue to fail. That is where the K, the upper leg of the K are the people doing well. The lower leg of the K are the people not doing well. The part that they don't explain is the reason there is a K or a bottom leg is that the policies instituted negatively affect the lower classes affect the lower classes. In other words, those who are prospering at the expense of those that they are ripping off. Let's put it better. Let's just use healthcare as the example, right? Donald Trump cut healthcare by a bunch, and that money went directly into the pockets of the wealthy. In other words, they didn't have to pay as many taxes because, well, we could use the deficit. You know how that goes, right? So now the poor folks that can't afford insurance, they are on the bottom leg of the K, right? And the high leg that is going up is the monies and the supply and the policies and the programs that were denied these people. But at the same time as they're doing that, things like deregulation, things like lower taxes on upper classes, things like allowing you to drill and take natural resources that should really belong to all of us and have it just for the top, Things like not regulating AI so that those people who are building AI on our knowledge base, remember, University of Texas, UCLA, and all these other universities, educated with public dollars those people who are building the databases and technologies that run AI today. It has very little to do with those people being the original creators. The billionaires that are paying these engineers are not paying them for their knowledge acquired from the public sector, meaning from the knowledge that all of you taxpayers paid for. Taxpayers, you created AI. When you invested your money in those engineers, when you invested your money in those computer science majors at the University of Texas, A&M University, University of Alabama, University of New York, New York City University, when you invested your money in all these things with your taxes, you paid for the engineers who got the knowledge to go work for a corporation who now pay them to extract all that you created. It's called capitalism. That's how it works. The people that did the work, the people that did the job, they're not the ones that take the money or the spoils. The oil that belongs to all of us on public lands, we are not the ones that profit from it. But when you say those things, they want to call you a communist, a socialist. No, you just believe in democracy. Don't let them label you. Do not let them label you. And promote these values unabashedly, assertively, and with conviction. The problem is so many Democrats are scared that they're going to call them socialists or democratic or so, whatever, that they cower. And that cowering has led folks into voting against their own interests. You have to go unabashedly for programs that support us all. No deniability, no quorums, no concerns, and simply ask them, explain to them how the current economic systems work and how do they intend to profit from said economic system. Okay? That's all. That's all. Let's not fall, as you know what some would say, let's not fall for the okie doke. We will not fall for the okie doke. We should not fall for the okie doke. Now, I like Katie Tur. I think Katie Tur normally does a fairly good job when she's interviewing folks. But I want to play likely her lousiest interview because what she did is let a Republican fraud get away with something, and I'll explain it after I play the piece. Let's go ahead and play it, and then we'll take it after that.
I think you're preaching to the choir if you're talking about reforming the system and giving people more power over their own healthcare plans. I mean, anybody who has a healthcare plan or insurance knows how complicated and frustrating it can be and how little they actually do want to cover, and they fight you even for things that are medically necessary. That's, yes, 100%. Republicans have been complaining about Obamacare for 15 years. I know you haven't been in Congress for that long, but you guys have the majority in the Senate. You have the majority in the House. You have a president. Where is your plan? Why don't you guys have something?
Well, respectfully, this is the system that the Democrats created. It has
but
created
you've been complaining about it for 15 years.
Spike.
I mean, come on.
It has created, hold on, Katie, let me finish. It has created a premium spike. So when Democrats say that we're seeing healthcare insurance premium spike, this is the system they created, written by the insurance companies. You have to go after the insurance companies. And that is what we are in the process of doing. We had a bill on the House floor yesterday that as I said, the associated health plans, PBM transparency. Every Democrat voted against that on the House floor yesterday. It's not just about the ACA enhanced premium tax credit. It goes well beyond that. We're talking about.
Are we going to see a full plan from the Republicans before the midterms next year?
Yeah,
one that is going to address all of this and fix healthcare?
As the speaker said, we are going to be voting on a number of bills in January that tackle many of the challenges that we're facing. Again, when you have insurance companies owning PBMs or owning providers, it's a clear conflict of interest. That is a direct result of the policies under Obamacare. It did not work the way Democrats said it would. So yes, you're right. Repeal and replace has been the mantra. That is not what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to fix the fundamental problems here with Obamacare, so we actually start to reduce the cost.
Yeah, there was one essential fix in Obamacare when it was passed, and that was allowing people with pre-existing conditions to get health care, and that was an essential thing. So,
and that was a very good part. And that was a very good part of it.
Well, we agree on that.
All right, let me tell you why that was a lousy interview. Because she got off of the case. These guys had 15 years to come up with a comprehensive plan. He goes and he said, we have a lot of bills in the Congress to pass to solve these other issues. Bull. They have nothing. And Donald Trump's plan is give people the money directly. Guess how much money they're talking about? Give them $1,000 to pay for their stuff out of pocket, and then let them go fish and find insurance on their own. And somehow that's going to bring down the insurance prices. And you know what? It will. But you know what it'll also do? It'll mean that all the protections that you had, that where they had to insure you, pre-existing conditions, all of that protection, the not being able to have rescissions, not having caps, all of those protections that raise the prices for the private sector given insurance would be gone. The problem is this, as Don just said in the chat, Obamacare is really Romneycare with protections for the poor and middle class. It's a Republican plan because it depends on private insurance. Private insurance does not work for healthcare. That is the reason they didn't want to have the public option as an option on the marketplace, because that would have put all of the private insurance companies out of business, because they wouldn't have had to pay executives. They wouldn't have had to pay dividends. They wouldn't have had to pay advertising. They wouldn't have had to pay any of those other costs that private insurance have to pay, because, again, it is nothing but an extractive method. Private insurance simply says, which master do you want to hold the whip on you? That's all private insurance is. Who do you want to control? Who do you want to control? Who is going to be your master? You know the difference between Medicare for all, or rather, forget Medicare for all for a moment. The difference between Medicare and Medicare Advantage. Medicare is run by we the people. Medicare Advantage by the greedy corporations. Medicare costs 3% overhead. These others cost 18% nominal, 30% realistically. Okay? It is impossible, folks. We are going to, as a people, as American citizens, we are going to have to grow up and understand math and not allow them to do what they're doing to us. I didn't realize I ran over time. Oh my God, it was going so well. Anyway, folks, I'll read the chat a little bit later, but thank you so kindly for being here. Folks, please support the program however you can. We are here to educate. We are here to make sure we get across the things that the mainstream media is lying to you about, the things that are not told to you truthfully. That's why we are here. And that's what we intend to do on all our platforms, Substack, YouTube, Instagram, on air at the different stations that we're at, because an informed population can do a lot better than an uninformed population and would make better choices when we take all the isms out of it. So if you will be so kind, please visit politicsdoneright.com/newsletter and consider becoming a paid subscriber of our newsletter. I guarantee you will be investing in helping your fellow brothers and sisters do better, make better choices as they go to the polls in 2026. Because those of us that are doing this work, we don't intend to stop. We intend to keep going over and over again. Thank you so kindly for being here. You guys know, love you all. Love you, all of you. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.